When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Meta Show. Today is November the 26th, 2022. It is the post-Turkey Day weekend Meta Show of Meta Shows. You guys missed us for the last 2 weeks. We took a 2-week hiatus off for the Alliance tournament. And in surprises that shocked no one, Hydra Reloaded won again. Go figure. But you got to watch the game. You got to watch them. Some of these matches were really, really fun. Odin's Call did a great job. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the show. But I wanted to say I missed you guys. And so for the first show back after all of that time off, we have a real humdinger for you guys. Not only do we have Jinx DeCare, the new Alliance executor of Brave Collective, in the wake of the, I think what we can all say is relatively shocking retirement of Dunk Dinkle. We have the man, the myth, the legend, one of the most well-known, most well-liked and disliked FCs in the history of EVE Online, who just happened to become a goon in the last 2 weeks, and I'm still trying to get over it. Progod legend. Hi, guys. How are you?
How's it going? Pretty good.
Doing good. Doing good. Too much turkey.
The turkey thing, like, you know, I still have, I think, pretty much half of the turkey that we didn't eat in the refrigerator, and I'm going to try to make a nice dent in that over the next week or so. But in the meantime, we've got some EVE stuff to talk about. Now, I want to go over a couple of little things first because I just want to get these out of the way to make sure you guys have a little bit of news, and then we're going to go into our top story, which is Progod joining Goons. Then we're going to go into our Nullsec Power Hour, which we'll be talking about Jinx and Brave. But right now, first of all, we're going to knock this out right away. One of the promises that some of us on the CSM made, and Jinx gets credit for this too because he is a CSM member, is trying to get CCP to unfuck the UI. Now, they have been working on this Photon UI for a while. It is not perfect, but one of the big things that they finally announced after so many freaking times we've asked them is this right here. Holy shit. Multiple overviews is coming to EVE Online.
Oh, fuck.
Nice, right?
Live reaction
is absolutely crazy.
You did get my live reaction. I had no idea.
There you go. So we're looking at potentially, I think that by the end of the year, we're going to have the ability to have multiple overviews up on your screen. Now, what does that mean? Well, more for our spreadsheets in Space Game, we get more spreadsheets. But more importantly, you're going to be able to keep a lot of things on the screen that you want on the screen and not have all the clutter so that you're not frantically trying to click on something when you're in the middle of a fight or when you're trying to warp around or when you're an FC trying to maintain where your fleet is and know where everything is at the same time. You can have an overview that handles just hostiles. You have an overview that handles just warp outs, an overview that just handles celestials, whatever else you want to do. It's going to clean up overviews in a way that we have not seen in a long time. And this has been a priority for a lot of people, but it has been a priority primarily for the CSM. We've asked for this. I'm pretty sure we've asked for this at least multiple times in the last 5 years. The fact that we are finally getting it from CCP, I think, is just another way to cap off what is really been a solid year of good quality of life updates that we've been getting from the company after 2 years of absolutely fucking nothing. So I'd like to say thank you. Jinx, you've been sitting here with me on the CSM during this whole process. What's been your take on the Photon UI stuff?
I think, they're doing a lot of work on it, and we've got we at CSM have been giving a lot of feedback, and they're really following the feedback threads on the forums, and they've got a lot of attention on it right now. So now's the time to get them to feedback, and we're getting improvements. One of the other parts of this is, they're making the borders adjustable. That's been a huge ask for a lot of people. So I think this has a lot of attention, and I'm using the Photon GUI right now. Still, a few minor things that I like better about the old one, but now's the time to get the feedback in, and we're getting these nice features. So hopefully we'll see more of that.
Progod, are you going to enjoy having multiple overviews? I'm sure as an FC, that's going to be a huge thing for you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be useful. I mean, obviously you had tabs, and you could, pre-organize your tabs in a way and flip quickly between them and get that information in somewhat the same way. But having access to it at a glance without having to switch tabs is a pretty big deal. And I guess another fringe benefit is in high lag fights, it's definitely going to be nice not having to switch tabs, because I don't understand it exactly, but I'm pretty sure when obviously every time you switch tabs, it had to reload that overview. And in a high lag fight, that was always a hit or miss for the most part. So not having to run into that problem where your overview isn't loading because you switch tabs is kind of nice.
That's one of the worst parts ever. When you're stuck in a 10% plus tie-dye fight and you're trying to load a dread overview when you're in a Titan, or try to load a dictator overview.
I've had to handle target calling before.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to make sure we got that off the top of the show, because that's the main CCP related news that we did. But I want to talk more about our guests, because this, I think, has been some of the biggest news we've had in EVE in a long time. And I know that Progod joined the Theta Thursday crew on Thursday night, but I wanted to get everybody a chance to talk to him and find out what's going on with him. So we're going to go right into our top story, which is Progod legend joins Goons Swarm.
That's good.
So why now? Why, after 10 years of fighting against the Goons, why have you chosen to join us, Anakin Skywalker?
I mean, I've always liked Goons organization. There was a guy there that would have never let me in, and I would have never wanted to join while he was there. So, he's not there anymore. And I've always been a big fan of Asher's, and we've always been buddies despite all the shit talk on the forums, the civil game focused shit talk on the forums. And so yeah, why not?
So how did this whole thing come about? Did you approach Asher? Did Asher approach you? Where did the germination of you joining Goons for the first time, where did that come from?
So when Asher was named leader, his speech got posted on Reddit, and I made a comment in that thread saying I thought it was a great speech and Asher was the right man for the job, etc. And it got people were kind of surprised to see me commenting there. But I had also messaged Asher before I made that comment and said all of that stuff to him personally. And we talked for a bit, and I said, I'm retired now, and I'm doing my best to try to stay away from EVE. But if I ever came back, now that you're in charge, I'd be interested in joining. And so we kind of kept that on the table. And then, I didn't come back for a while. That was 6-8 months ago. How long has he been in charge? For a little while?
Yeah, it would have been at least almost 6 months ago.
Yeah. So, I've been playing other games, and I'm not going to lie. I know it's obvious to say now, but there really is nothing else like EVE. I tried. I tried to go to some other games, and I'd get into them a little bit, and I'm like, all right, let's do some organization. Let's min-max this shit. And everyone's just like, no, we're just, here to kind of chill out and hang out on Discord. And it's hard to find a place where people actually give a shit. And after about a year of kind of looking around and beating around the bush, I said to myself, I'm like, I know where this experience is. I know where I can get the experience I want. Why am I avoiding it? and so I came back. Yeah, unfortunately.
So, and I think Screaming PC has a great question that I wanted to follow up on. So why come to Goons rather than going back to Test? What was keeping you from going back to Test Alliance? Please ignore.
I mean, it had nothing to do with Test. I didn't want to play Eve in general.
Okay.
Now, coming back at this moment, I do not want to do anything outside of fleet commanding, and I especially don't want to do what I've done twice, which is build an alliance up, do the alliance leadership stuff, any of that stuff. That there was a reason I retired from the game in the first place, and those reasons still exist. So this is definitely trying to take a different approach to playing this game. I know there's a couple of pros to joining Goons that only benefit me. One of them is that they have an organization structure that should allow me to do just FCing without needing to do some of that other stuff to facilitate what I want to do. The other is they definitely don't need me in leadership, and I imagine they don't want me in leadership. And that actually works out in my favor just fine, because I'm sure I'll get the itch at some point, and having that extra barrier will help prevent me from doing it. And they do have a lot of enemies right now, and I like content. So
that is true.
There's definitely a lot of people to shoot.
Oh, I do have to acknowledge, and I said this to PGO when we got on the stream. He's finally getting a little bit of the gray in the beard now, so he looks like me again.
Well, now that you acknowledge it, I got to get rid of it. I've been thinking about dyeing it anyway, so this is that's the final straw.
We're dyeing it out. It's not going to happen. Yeah. I can't dye my beard because you people have all seen me with this for so long, so there's no way.
I've been thinking about it for a couple of weeks now, and then when you messaged me yesterday, I was like, "You got to go on webcam," and I was like, "Can we do this next week then?" But
all right.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of more hard-hitting questions now, because I think the audience will kill me if I don't grill you a little bit. So the first question, and this is not a joke: are you a spy?
No, God. I mean, that would be the most deep cover spy ever, leaking embarrassing logs about myself. I mean, that would be pretty brutal.
That'd be pretty bad.
Yeah.
And for those on the other side who are unhappy with the fact that you're over here now, and I've seen more than one conspiracy theory, were you a spy for Goons during the big war?
No.
Were you Pappy Snowden?
No, but I know who was, so.
Oh, okay.
Let's see how that goes.
Well, we all know who it was, right? I mean, Matterall said it was Mittens, so it had to have been Mittens, right? I mean, he's never wrong. No. But we'll have to talk about that. We'll have to talk about that at some other point. And I do want to talk about some Vietnam stuff, but I also want to find out.
What is the war? Are we calling it Vietnam?
We're calling it Vietnam is what we call it on here. Anybody else can call it whatever they like. I honestly, the way it has been for me. I'm a company
man. I was on the wrong side in the casino war, and I was on the wrong side in Vietnam.
You figured it out.
So,
you got it. Yeah. What I just tend to call it the war, because this was the biggest war in the history of New Eden.
It really was the war, man. I mean,
the war.
And I was talking about it on Theta Thursday a little bit, just to get on an aside. But I know Eve went through kind of a slump after the war, and we can attribute a fair amount of it to CCP, but you got to attribute a fair amount of it to the fact that we just fought a 14-month war that was as intense as of Eve content as there's ever been. There was always going to be a slump after it.
It was inevitable, and I know. Yeah. And I'll throw this open to Jinx too, because you guys were both in leadership during the war. Tell me a little bit about how that was, because I know from our perspective, from our side, we've talked about it, and Mittens has talked about it, and Merkelchen's talked about it, and we've had the Adj on before, and he's talked about it. But from the other side, just tell me a little bit about how it felt for you guys, for the cadence and getting it started. I mean, for honestly, you guys were two folks that were involved from the very beginning. What was it like when you guys were in the planning stages and then starting to execute? What did it feel like?
Jinx, you want to take a shot at that?
Sure. So I started out a lot lower level at the start of the war, but we had a lot of opportunity to step up. So I was the dojo director at the time, just as the Braves new player education group, and I had this end of oracles, I had gotten a Titan, all those things. So my role was, getting everybody prepped, teaching people what to do, what to expect, and how to be effective in these huge battles. And so there was a ton of that. Then, as the war progressed, we lost Catch and Impasse. I ended up with my Titan. I ended up getting everybody out of there, just tons and tons of bridge fleets with work for home that probably wouldn't have been able to do all that. But that's really where I was able to help Brave and some of Legacy, really commit to the war in Aquarius, as our backyard burned for initiative. and then
you're welcome, by the way.
Yeah, at that point, Brave was all in, and that's really where I started getting more into the overall alliance leadership role. And then as after the war, Dunk, we decided to go our own way from Legacy, and we've been pretty much at war almost the entire time since then. So there's no slumping content for Brave.
Progod, how you were there from the very beginning? Can you tell the story about how the whole war started? I'd like to hear that from you, because I know we've talked about it offline, but I'd like to hear it if you're willing.
Well, there's a lot of parts to it. First, there's just pure strategic reasons. At the time, Test and Legacy, it was a 3 coalition galaxy at the time, and Villy and I had both been playing the game long enough to know what usually happens when there's only 3 blocks, and we were very aware we were the 3rd place block, and we were pretty public about it during the war that we knew Test had to go to war. It was going to become a 2-block galaxy. And if Test and Legacy were going to survive, they had to be one of the surviving 2 blocks. And so one of them we had to join sides with one and go to war. And we actually asked Goons to invade PanFam with us before we sided with PanFam to invade Goons. Matani turned us down. And so that really left us with one option. And we had already been kind of leaving that door open anyway. There were other parts of it, but most of it was pretty strategic. I mean, we had worked with Goons right up until that point, so and shot PanFam, so it was making the strategic choice to side with the one side and shoot the other. It had kind of always been the most deciding factor. But I would say I think the war started in June or July of 2020.
Yeah, July.
I want to say July. Okay. So probably about March is when we approached Vince and Gobbins. And it took right up until about 1 or 2 weeks before the big announcement to finalize everything and actually get people to agree to do it, which is why the beginning of the war looked, still kind of shaky. I mean, everyone had only just recently agreed to work with each other, and most people still didn't fully trust each other. So it was pretty shaky, but it was about 3 to 4 months of negotiation before we started it.
That's a lot of lead time, and the fact that that's a lot of lead time is probably one of the reasons why we started getting sniffs from the Black Hand that you guys were in the process of starting something, and that's why, as of at least around the May time frame, we started getting ready to go, so that by the time everything hit in July, it was it. But that's water under the bridge. But I'll tell you that war meant a lot to a lot of people. I think it was a definite high point in my EVE career. I'm sure it was probably one for you as well. But there were a lot of hard feelings that were brought up during that war. I mean, you had Villy out there in the press saying this is a war of extermination, things like that. When the announcement was made that you were coming back, and it wasn't even really an announcement, it just kind of was something that people saw on Reddit, and then we're all like, oh, that's a ruse cruise, that can't possibly be real. And then it got confirmed that it was true. I think a lot of folks were angry. And to the folks in Goons right now, the folks that you're going to be flying with, when you start FCing and you're going to be taking out fleets, what do you say to those folks who are still mad at you about the war?
I mean, I would remind them, once again, this is a video game. There were times during the war where people on my side said that they wanted to push people out of the game. I'm sure at some point in the heat of the moment, I said something, and I'm not going to sit here and apologize or try to pretend like anything didn't happen during the war. It all happened, and I was very cognizant when I said it. I would point to the original announcement. I think you said July, so it would have been July 5th, that big Twitch stream I did.
Yep.
That speech I gave was pretty much the only time I spent where I sat down and really thought about what I was going to say. And I still have it in my Google documents, actually. I reread it a couple of days ago. I pretty much stand by everything I said in that. If you keep in mind that it was a test alliance update meant for test members and should be read through that lens, I pretty much stand by everything I said in it. There was only ever really one person I wanted to push out of the game, or at least
I was waiting for that,
a leadership position. But I was very clear in that meeting that I had nothing against the Goon line members or anything outside of that person.
And in terms of, all right, so in terms of that speech, I think one of the things that I think a lot of us remember from that speech was the whole Goons are bad for the game. They don't play the game the way that we do. They're not willing to go out and do the content. So do you blame all of that on Mittens then? That you think now that that's gone,
I said at the time that I blamed it on Mittens. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I always had a problem with the way Mittens approached the game. I thought he took things way too seriously. I thought he was too conservative, and he viewed Eve through a pretty weird lens, I would say. I am very eager to move past this whole Eve is real, Eve is magical. There's something special about Eve. It is a video game. It has unique stakes that make it feel very painful when you lose. And that's a good thing. I like games that where shit actually matters, but it is still a video game. I never liked when it seeped into real life. I sure I made some mistakes at times and kind of played into that. It was hard not to with everything that everybody was saying. And I'm sure I instigated some of it, but I never really liked it, and I tried to avoid it as often as I could. It is a video game meant to be played for fun. I think I've been back for a week now, and I saw what happened on Sunday with that big, maybe it was 2 Sundays ago, that big form up that was in Vino where Horde pinged really hard, and Goons, we went up there, and it ended up being blue balls. Goblins had made a ping about like, let's show them what it means when we're not third partying, and then they stood down and everyone gave them shit for it. That's the kind of shit talk that's good. Goblins is talking about the video game. We're giving him shit for the video game. Nobody's calling him Elf Boy. This is a marked improvement, and I would like it to stay that way.
So you're not going to get mad if we still play the "We're Going to Pass" song, right? You're okay with that?
No, not at all. It was the right decision. I'm passing was the right call during that fight. It's just that song just celebrates my competence, so I'm fine with it.
All right, there you go. All right. It's a victory song of sorts.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
One of the guys in chat had asked me to ask you this, and I thought this was a pretty good question. Going back, knowing everything that you know now, going back, was there any single decision or any one thing that you would have done differently if you could have during the war?
Any one? I think there's quite a few.
I mean, I would say besides jumping into M2 on the second timer, but other than that, because that's obvious.
Yeah. I think the one that I'll pick one that doesn't probably get a lot of talk. When you guys did the alliance meeting and announced the Helm's Deep, we should have CTA'd and broken those iHubs like within the hour. We should have just immediately destroyed those iHubs and completely nullified the Helm's Deep strategy. We viewed that as a desperate move, and whether it was or not, I feel like had we gone in and broken those iHubs, we could have convincingly sold that as a desperate move, and that might have had some pretty big morale hits at a time when I don't know for sure because I wasn't a part of you guys, but it seemed like the morale was not at its highest point. So I really wish we would have been super aggressive there, but that's probably one that isn't obvious, like M2 is obvious, that doesn't get a lot of chat.
Have you talked to Villy? since joining Goons?
Yeah, we're still. Oh, since joining Goons, no. But I mean, we don't. I don't know how often he plays. I mean, we chat from time to time. I chat with most of those guys from time to time, and I'm still friends with all of them. This is not I did not join Goons because I hate the other side, and I kind of hope Eve moves to that now that we're kind of past the most of the old guard and Eve that used to play Eve the old way is kind of retired.
Now, I asked you about the Goons who are angry about the war that when you came over. Have you gotten a lot of hate from folks on the Pappy side since you came over? And what do you say to them?
I've gotten some Eve mails and PMs from people who blame me for losing the war, but they were doing that before I joined Goons. So, I've
also told you're not allowed to unanchor any of our keep stars, just by the way, just be aware of that.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to join GSOL for a reason. Yeah, but as far as joining Goons, not really. I don't know. If they're mad about it, come do something about it.
There you go. If they're mad, come do something about it. Now, I think as far as I'm concerned, and people have asked me, Brisc, how do you feel about Progod joining? I'll be honest, I'm kind of sad. And the main reason I'm sad is because you are so good to make fun of on the other side, like not having somebody that you can poke fun at who is generally good natured about it and doesn't get butthurt. That's for somebody like me who, obviously I'm a line member, but I do a show and we have a lot of fun on here. We do some laughs and we have a good time. That's the whole point of the show. Having somebody that you can mock a little bit, have a good time making fun of, and then know that they're not going to get upset, which is not the case with some of the people in the war. And I understand the concerns about the Elf Boy name calling and things like that, and the way that Mittens would make it would seem like he was angry or mad about stuff. And I think some of that was character more than anything else. But I know Villy's still mad at me for the way we treated him during the war. And I know that has never been a situation. I've never felt the same kind of animosity from you for the constant week in, week out propagandizing that we did during the war, which was critical, I think, to our efforts to maintain morale. I think you guys recognize that. And I appreciate that you never were crazy upset about it. And that I thought was a sign of maturity, and I appreciate that. But I'm sad because now you're not out there anymore. I can't make fun of you anymore. Yeah. Or at least I can, but at least it'll be on comms. It's not going to be on the show, right? That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good crop of young talent on the other side coming up that really showed out at the end of the war. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. As I understand it, most of the old names are kind of retired over there. And
who would you put in that group? Who would you put in that group of the young up and comers on the Pappy that's not really Pappy but still kind of Pappy side?
Oh man, I'll try not to forget anyone. A lot of the Horde guys coming up. I don't think Johnny gets a lot of publicity, but he's pretty damn good. I know you guys tried to single out Zero Muskie doing your typical build one FC up so the other ones get mad at him strategy, but he actually
is it that obvious?
Good. It's very obvious. Yeah.
Good. That's the whole point.
But Sandrin's over there doing some good stuff. There's quite a few of them. I'd say most of the Horde talent that got to FC a lot when Alpha Star was it Alpha Star? Yeah, when Alpha Star retired, showed out during the war. I think Nidaspar is retired. I don't know who FCs for NC Dot anymore.
I haven't seen NC Dot on the field in a very, very long time, so I couldn't tell you. PL we see all the time still, but I haven't seen.
Yeah, but it's still just Headliner, right? So
yeah, Headliner's still out there.
Right? Horde FCs coming up. They're doing pretty good. And then some of the guys who joined Fireco, Severance is really really shown out, and Arcadius is their main FC. He's pretty good. Shout out, by the way, you helped me move my Titan yesterday. Thanks for that. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of upcoming talent. I've seen some of the new fleet comps that are getting announced. Seems like we've got some young theory crafters on the other side too. So I'm pretty excited. It's with all the balance changes that have recently happened, it's one of those eras in EVE when there's a lot of room for someone creative to kind of gain a real advantage for a short time by being the first one to really crack the meta. So we'll see how that goes.
Very good. Last question, then I'm going to go over to Jinx, and then we'll talk some more, I'm sure, about other stuff later in the show. But I've been asked specifically by one of your fellow members of AMOC if you would be willing to apologize for being an LSU fan.
Oh, no. Why would I? I mean, well, yeah, there is some things that we need to apologize for. I mean, it is, I know most schools, like, they have to hit a home run with like some generational coach, and it's clear that our superior culture and just everything about Louisiana that makes it great, it means that it doesn't matter who's our coach. We're going to win another national championship. We win it with bad coaches. We win it with good coaches. We went and stole Notre Dame's coach and showed that if you give Brian Kelly a chance in a real football culture, he's going to be an elite. We're about to win another national championship this year in our rebuilding year. About to beat Georgia in a week. So I am sorry that we're so good. I'm sorry.
That was the apology Georgia. I was expecting. I was waiting for the I'm sorry we're so much better than you. There you go. All right. Well, thanks, Progod. We'll stick around. We're going to probably come back and ask you some other questions about the overall meta, because I want to talk to both of you guys as a former Alliance leader, as a current FC, what you guys think about how EVE is right now. But I wanted to transition over. We're going to do Nullsec Power Hour. I want to talk to Jinx, because I think one of the big things that also happened during our hiatus was Dunk Dinkle stepped down from Brave and Jinx took over the reins. And I want to find out what happened there and what he is going to be doing with Brave here. So we're going to go do the Nullsec Power Hour. We'll be right back. So for those of you who don't know Jinx is current CSM 17 member of Brave. He formerly ran Brave's Dojo, which is their newbie program. And now he has taken over as Alliance executive from Dunk Dinkle. So let me be honest with you, Jinx. Losing Dunk is like a knife in the fucking gut. He has been, I think, one of the premier statesmen in the game. He's a very good friend. I remember that when I got banned by CCP unfairly and then was reinstated, the first person I heard from was Dunk, and he sent me a bottle of booze and said, "Thanks, welcome back." You know, this is the kind of guy that Dunk was, and that's what he brought to the game. And he was always stay classy. He was always, how much fun per hour are you having? Like Progod was alluding to, he always tried to remember that this was a video game. I don't know if I agree with you guys on that, to be bluntly honest, but I know Dunk was a firm believer in the whole idea that this was a game and we shouldn't invest too much craziness in it. So can you walk us through? So what happened? What was the situation when he came to you and said, "I'm thinking about stepping down"? How long ago was this, and walk us through that process?
So Dunk, probably since I got on CSM, Dunk, we'd talked some about me coming on and sharing some of the load. I think he didn't want to do that while I was on CSM, because that's its own load for this game. So he was bearing that on his own, and he in his update he has some more details, but I think he didn't want to. He was trying to hold it until we were farther into CSM, bring me on as second. But one of the things that I'm hoping to work with CCP on through CSM is there's so many things in that has to be the alliance leader. It has to be one person to push the buttons, and it's hard to push those roles down. And then just the amount of things you need to take care of from a foreign relations standpoint, and just your own organization. The summer was hard for a lot of EVE. There was a lot of drama. So a lot of those things just added up with the space work, and it was making it unfun. So like we were seeing a couple of Dunk's updates. I think you saw some of his blogs. He was really looking for CCP to do some bigger actions. And when that didn't come, that kind of took some of the fun out of the game for him too. And he just came to this realization that it felt more like work than a game. And, from Brave's standpoint, we've always wanted to make sure that people treat it like a game, real life first, and have fun. And he came to the conclusion this November that the only way he was really going to be able to do that is to walk away. I think just to give credit to Dunk and his standing in the community, if you go and listen to that update, you can see that was a hard decision for him, and everyone in Brave was very thankful for him being a part of our community. And he's a huge fixture in all the live meetups. Probably everyone's had a friendship shot out of his suitcase.
Oh yeah.
All the Brave swag that he's had over the years, I have. It's around my shirt.
I have plenty of it here. He gave it to everybody. So
yeah. So, coming after somebody that's such a fixture is definitely going to be a hard thing to follow. I'm glad that he was able to trust me to take up the flag and make sure that Brave stays that same place, having fun and staying classy and all those things. I'm not Dunk. I don't have his years and years of relationships all over Eve. So I'm coming new to this. I'm probably one of the, not an FC like PGL's talking to, but I think there are a lot of new people coming up into the Alliance leadership. And so hopefully that makes for fun times in nullsec. So change in the guard.
I think it's crazy to me, just the whole idea that Brave is not going to have Dunk Dinkle to kick around anymore, because his name has been synonymous with it. Even when he wasn't the Alliance executor, he was the one doing the Nada Sodas. He was the one that was out doing a lot of the formal front manning of the organization. And I believe, if I'm right, he had the dojo before you did, right?
No, Dunk was always kind of just the spokesperson, kind of he was the Sino, the drama Sino inhib is what he liked to call himself. He did a lot of the face work when Kigali was doing the executive things, the AFK leadership. I love Kigali too. That's really when I came back. I was away for a few years. Kigali was the head, and then Dunk started his Nada Sodas and how to lead. He did presentations, how to lead an organization when you're not formally the leader. How do you do those things? I think Dunk definitely taught me a lot about how to lead in this game and out of this game. So I'll try to take that forward and represent Brave well and have fun with this.
And I mean, that's the important thing, as long as you're having fun, and I mean, not everybody has been at that high level of leadership that turns your beards gray and makes everybody think you're 45 instead of 31, right, Progod?
My beard wasn't gray before the war, man.
Yeah, exactly right. I wasn't gray before the CSM either, but now all of a sudden I am.
Got a couple years of it, but
yeah, that's only 4. But I'm done. It's your turn. You got to deal with this shit from now on, not me. I'm out. Last term. So when Dunk steps down in November, I think a lot of us outside would have looked around and said, well, aren't they involved in a major war? How could you have your Alliance executor step down in the middle of like a big war? Is it really a war? Are you guys still actively fighting? What's going on with Fraternity and Pure Blind with you guys? What's the status of that?
It was a lot of time zone tanking. So, Fraternity very much wants Brave to leave the war. And so that they can go up and fight Volta, reform Volta one-on-one. They feel like they have the numbers to do that. When we came and settled in Pure Blind, a lot of Dunk standing in the community got us the spot we were in, and we negotiated to get Pure Blind. We kind of had an agreement with Volta. That we weren't going to be blue. We just wanted to be able to shoot everybody. It was a glorious few months that we were able to do that, 6 months or so. And then Fraternity decided they needed more space. So then when we wouldn't stand to the side, they decided that we were going to be the target, that we were the weak link. So they were going to come after us. We had some epic fights over the FTAC-in iHub. They were gating supers into 2 systems away. We were able to make them think better of that. And with I think that was 200 bill or more. Big fight. We had, I think they did get one of our Fortizars and NPC space. They were able to kill that one with some CTAs, and when they brought Test in, who's living on their couch in 5ZX. And but since then, it's mostly time zone tanking. They do have Fortizars, and kind of now there's a Keepstar even in FTAC-in. And those Chinese time zones are really tough. You know, they definitely have the advantage during those times, but they also haven't broken any of our structures or iHubs in months. I think that was August, but since they've really made attempts. They had a golden week in October that we geared up huge for, prepared. That's a week off in China that we thought that we were going to see a lot of attempts. I think they made one CTA attempt at the beginning of the week. When we outformed them, there was a small skirmish, and then they stood down for the rest of the time. So we're still at a high level of vigilance over Fraternity. We still have tons of structures to reinforce, and we've got members who wake up over coffee and bash Fortizars in Chinese time zone. Yeah. So we're gonna be here, and they'll have to find more mercenaries, or they could pay some more scammers to try to blow up our iHubs. If you heard about that one, but they'll have to find more mercenaries to do their work if they're not going to wake up and do it themselves.
So what happened with the third-party Keepstar that got dropped in FTAC-in? That kind of was a weird situation. What's the deal with Mav and his group?
So Mav he's ex-Brave, and he has a lot of ISK, and he has he's working, you know, he got Fraternity to help him anchor that. I think they showed up with 650. It actually happened the weekend that Dunk stepped down. So we weren't able to organize to kill it when it was anchoring. You know, something Goons, you guys had thousands of ships to throw against the anchoring Keepstars, and that was amazing. We weren't able to pull that off, but that's something, you know, in Chinese time zone, we know that we're going to have roach motels in our space. And, you know, they could put Fortizars or Keepstars in more systems if they like. But we're the ones living there, and they're going to have a hard time kicking us out.
Very interesting. And I think from my perspective, what we have seen, at least over the past 6 or 7 months, has been there after the Imperium Fire War kind of calmed down, and we pulled back, and Asher took over the Imperium and took over Goons form. We've seen a little bit of a lull on our side, but what we have done, and what I think everybody has done, has started to be, hey, let's go up in third party on Brave and Fraternity. Have you seen an uptick in that? What's been going on?
So we do have
partying on your
there's lots of third partying happening. So PHPL have their Bean Foreign Legion, BFL. That's what I know it as. They're staging out a pure blind NPC space.
I thought it was Best Friends Legion.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah,
is that what it is? Best Friends Legion?
It better be. If it's Beans Foreign Legion, that sucks.
Okay. Well, you know, BFL, that's what I know it is. They have a severe distaste for flex structures and some medium structures. So that's how they're third partying, is they really don't want us to have any flex structures. And they enjoy bashing those down. We've traded some good fights over that. There's been quite the escalation change in terms of, if we bring this, they'll bring that. With the patch notes, I think they were definitely ahead of where we were in terms of they pivoted much faster than we did in terms of new ships and getting people into the ships. some of that, I think that's a higher SP group, higher risk group than the average Brave member. But now we've been trading blows pretty well. We've had a few good fights and holding our own. You did see, I think you were talking about PGL. You were talking about that fight in Venal over the boss structure. So the third party, if they are third party, if they're helping fraternity, there's a lot of concern on their side about their perception of that and the narrative around what they're doing in our space. I don't care too much about that. If they undock and they want to fight, we're gonna fight them when it makes sense to fight them, and we're here to stay. So.
Yeah.
Well, at least from my perspective, what I would say is some of these third partyings don't really seem like a lot of very third partying, because it only seems to be guns going in one direction only, not at everybody, which is typically how you do that. Go ahead, Progod. Sorry.
I just want there to be more fights. I mean,
yeah, please.
I was looking
Jesus,
in the
please.
cesspool Discord, and there was a lot of shit talking about who creates content in this game and who doesn't. In my opinion, nobody is creating content in this game.
Well, all the content is in pure blind. PGL.
I know I used to create most of y'all's content, but I figured with all the shit talking going on, at least someone would do it. But I've been back for a week. I don't think I've seen more than 1 or 2 timers. These people who talk a big game about creating fights need to get off their ass and actually do it.
And I'm not going to argue with you.
Their
It's one of the reasons I
structures,
stay out of
they can hit
cesspool.
your structures. Whoever does it, just do it. I mean, I want some fights to go to.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have a couple of funny things. Now, Frank is not here, unfortunately. I'm sorry, guys. No Fountain Frank this week. He is on vacation. But there were a couple of things that I did want to point out that he asked me to point out. So we're going to go over here. There's 2 things I wanted to point out. First of all, I'm kind of flabbergasted by the fact that Test is joining Faction Warfare. That was the big announcement. So let me see if I can go find this big announcement on Test joining Faction Warfare. Where did it go? I can't find it real quick, but we're going to go over here because I wanted to say this is funny. So we hear finally Test has nexted themselves. We've been asking, where are they going? What are they going to do? Are they going to go to Faction Warfare? Are they going to turn into a real fighter or anything like that? But then it turns out they are joining the Caldari Navy Faction Warfare. But in what I think was not at all surprising to everybody, within like 2 days, they're about to get kicked out of Faction Warfare because their players can't stop shooting Caldari space people. Just saying. It's kind of funny. Is that one of the reasons why you didn't go back to Test, Progod?
No.
So you didn't have to worry about being in Faction Warfare?
It seems like Faction Warfare is the place to be right now.
That is where a lot of the content is. I gotta give these guys credit. And we're starting to see drama again from folks in Faction Warfare, which I think is a good sign. If there's drama, that means stuff that's happening. We like it. We like drama. A couple other questions, and we're going to wrap up here. I was going to go into Piercing the Corporate Veil and talk about CCP's numbers. We had a numbers call a couple of days ago, but we really don't have enough time to do that segment very well. And I would like to have Angry Mustache here or maybe Noisy Gamer even, to have him talk about it, because I think it was pretty amusing. The numbers that we saw out of CCP, and they were a little surprising, but we'll talk about that on next week's show. But there were a couple of questions that were asked by folks in the chat that I wanted to get to, many of them being Progod questions. So one of the questions that I saw, Progod, was, are you going to be the same douchebag prick you were when you were in Nully?
No. Was I? I will respond with was I.
2 fucking dictors.
Okay, so like, since I've joined Goons, I've seen a bunch of people joking like, I'm going to bring a dictor to his fleet. I'm like, please bring a dictor to my fleet. I'm more than happy for you to do that. Like that is the best way you can make, you can kind of joke with me, is to bring some more dictors on my fleet.
Don't bring dictors. Then you'll get to see Angry Progod.
There you go. When do you expect you're going to start leading fleets? I mean, have you done that yet? I haven't seen one pinged out, but I haven't been paying too much attention. Have you started doing that?
Yeah, the priority has been take advantage of this 7 days of free Omega to move all my stuff so I can then not subscribe these accounts. And once that's done, then we'll start seeing. I do want to take it slow though. You know, I want to get a feel for how things run here. I'm not eager to try and like, I guess, come in and demand that things run my way or anything like that. I want to be a part of the team. So I'm gonna take it slow. All
right. Now the final questions I'm going to get to, because I alluded to this earlier. We were going to talk about it. I mean, right now, Progod, you went snowboarding. How was snowboarding, by the way? Was that fun?
It was fun. I had to cut the season a little short. I got a good season in, but I went really hard on a couple of days and ended up hurting my leg on one of those runs. So but yeah, okay. Otherwise, it was a great season.
So you had fun snowboarding. You've been gone for a while. You're back about 2 weeks. Jinx, you've been here the whole time. So Progod, just to ask you this, how does the game feel to you right now? I would have said like 6 months ago, if you would ask me this question, I would have said Eva's dying. This is not good. Everything's horrible. You know, the game is in the toilet. And I think the last month or so, we've seen a lot of changes in that regard. A lot of good things have happened. But I want to find out from you, from someone who left in February and is now back in November, what does it feel like? Does the game feel different? Does it feel better? Do you see people energized? How does it feel to you?
I mean, not much has changed. The balance has changed a little bit, but people do seem to be more optimistic about it. I don't want to go this far, but I guess I will. Like, if the last 7-8 months didn't kill Eve, what will, right? Like,
true.
Yeah. So, I think people have kind of come out of that funk. It seems like people are more eager about the game. I see a lot of the same problems, balance-wise, that are preventing more content creation, but the hack changes were, at least in my mind, a signal that they're willing to do some creative changes or apply some creativity to these balance problems. So hopefully we'll see more of that. I know I left the CSM at probably the most inopportune time because they were just about to touch Citadels, and that was one of the things I had a lot of opinions on. I know they made some changes to Citadels. I didn't end up reading them. I'll have to go back and see what they did. But I mean, carrier fighters are still the same. So like we're still here where we were. Like, so there's still a lot of problems. Yeah.
You happy with the Munin changes?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I'm happy with the hack changes in general.
Fuck all Munins.
I don't see a lot of kiting doctrines right now. So like, and I see a lot of people embracing brawling. Me and another old school FC, we're talking about this the other night, but while there is a lot of young FC talent, I don't think a lot of these FCs were around 8-10 years ago when it was a mostly brawling meta. And I'm kind of interested to see how they react to it, because we're gonna pull out some old school stuff.
So two questions, one for Jinx and one for Progod. Progod, first of all, I have a question. There seems to be a lot of misunderstanding, or at least lack of understanding in the chat regarding your current corporation, AMOC. Can you confirm or deny, are they recruiting?
AMOC is definitely recruiting. And it's not just because I was told to say that. I got a lot of good buddies there, and I was told good things, and it's exceeded my expectations. So definitely give AMOC a look if you're looking for a new corporation.
There you go.
But I
and
also was
Jinx,
told to say that.
Jinx,
Brave is recruiting.
All right. Well, obviously Brave is recruiting. That's I've been asked to ask you.
Yeah.
How is Shattered Armor doing?
Shattered's good. You know.
How is the relationship there?
With
is
me
he
and
upset
Shattered?
That you are the executor and not him?
No. I think Shattered and I have been working together hand in hand for years, even before I got more into the leadership role. So we're good. We just have to make sure that we're getting everything in place for our military to be successful, work closely with our allies. All the content's in pure blind. So, if you guys just join Brave, you don't have to gate 20 gates through unfueled jump bridges, and you get content. You log in, there's ping, get content in our space. It's great.
There you go. And I think that'll be the last word. So, gentlemen, I would like to thank you. Progod, thanks for joining me. I know the Meta Show has been very rough on you over the last 2 years. Frankly, it was 100% deserved. But, I wanted to make sure you at least had a chance to come on and say hi to everybody. Jinx, again, we're looking forward to seeing you take over Brave. Despite the fact that we've been on the opposite side of wars with you, I think a lot of folks in the Imperium, myself included, have always had a soft spot in our heart for Brave. We're always kind of cheering you guys on, especially as you're fighting the big meanies over in FRT. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys keep fighting, and hopefully we'll get up there and get to third party some of these guys. Actually, third party. And have a good time up in that space. But I want to thank you, gentlemen, both for joining us. This has been the Meta Show for November 26, 2022. I'm Brisc Rubal, joined alongside Progod Legend and Jinx from Brave. We will see you guys next week for the Meta Show. We're back. It's a regular time. We're getting ready to start season 4, our 4th season since the reboot. Myself and our prime producer, our executive producer, Life Shifter, have been working on getting stuff ready for the 4th season. We're going to have some fun stuff for you guys next year, and we're looking forward to another year of talking about EVE Online. So thanks, everybody, and you stay classy, New Eden.